Hello, and welcome to this week's Oracle reading. So, this reading that I'm going to do is going to be for the week moving forward from the 23rd of March 2026 to Sunday, the 29th of March. So, the deck that I'm using and will probably use most of the time is called the Shaman's Dream deck, Oracle deck. It's one of my favorite decks to use, quite worn because I've used them that much, but I find so much guidance in these and quite practical as well. So it helps you to understand better what sort of behaviors and action steps to take moving forward and what decisions to make. So I'm going to set the intention and let's go with it. I ask for guidance for all those who feel called to tune in, who are seeking support, wisdom, direction, and have, by their higher guidance, been brought to this channel, to these readings. Let them hear what they need, what will help them, what will serve them. Let me be your guide, your messenger. Speak through me for everyone's highest and greatest good. So I like to shuffle. There's so many different ways to read an oracle. Oh, I've got 3. I'm going to keep going. Sometimes it's really immediate. Sometimes I don't know if that was just one card. Let me have a look. Yes, it was. So a little jumper. Oh, it's like a jumper. Wailing Tree Reconciliations. So can you see that? So if you want to pause at this point and sit in quiet meditation and see what that means to you, by all means pause. I'm going to now read what it says in the book. Wailing Tree, grief and mourning, a time of necessary losses, reconciliations. When you encounter the wailing tree on your path, it's an invitation to stay a while and regroup, a place for you to rest and allow yourself to say goodbye to what no longer serves. You may have been overdoing things, working too hard, or putting too much effort into life with little reward. If you've been considering making a change, now is the time to do so. One important thing to consider before you make any changes is that you need to allow yourself to feel your disappointment, your loss, and mourn to feel your disappointment, your loss, and mourn what was and what could not be. This is a way to honor your experience, to give yourself time to consider all the gifts in it, to put proper closure on it, to really know what you've learned as you walk away from it and into something new. Even in the perception of failure, there is much good to be discovered. However, skipping the stages of loss doesn't get you to reconciliation any faster. In fact, you will discover that you will have to come back at some point. So do it all now. Look at it all squarely and honestly and stay with your feelings. Life is not either or. It's both and. This and that. So as you dive in and process this, allow it to become a temporary travel companion on your journey. The feelings that this will bring to the surface will be challenging for sure. Yet, like all things, they will pass soon enough, and you will be more enriched by the experience. Okay, so once again, if you just want to pause there and sit with whatever really jumped out for you, then please do that here. And for those of you who want to hear what I have to say, stay tuned. I'm smart. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that I'm smiling, and I'm smiling through all of that because as soon as I just read grief and mourning, I was like, no way. But of course. So those of you who tune into um my main podcast episodes last week, the topic of my podcast was grieving. And it's interesting because I haven't picked up this oracle deck for myself in months. And I certainly have not picked up this particular card in a very long time. So it's not because I picked up this card that I then did an episode on grieving. It's because clearly, well, it's clear to me at least, that this is the message for the collective out there at the moment, because I was really, when I sit down and I write those episodes or plan those episodes, I have a few different ideas, but it's what feels intuitively right to share in that moment. That's the one I roll with and then eventually publish. And now again, we're getting the same message. So that's just confirmation that this is what we as a collective need to sit with. And so a lot of what I shared in that, if this is resonating for you already and you haven't listened to the episode, I encourage you to go back. It was episode 39, I believe, just last week. And I think you'll find value in that. But some of the things that really struck me in here that I just want to, again, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've said most of it already in that episode, but just to highlight was that it's any changes. Grieving is not just about death, but to really give yourself that space to mourn any kind of disappointment or loss. And that by skipping over it and moving forward really quickly doesn't get you to reconciliation faster, but in fact, it will come back. It will stay in your body and ask to resurface. Or if you keep repressing it, then turn into very toxic cells and toxic energy, which can then become harmful and manifest through diseases and ailments and sickness in your body. So to really give yourself that time to sit with those feelings is so important. And that is also to understand that this is just part of the journey of life. It's not something that anyone can avoid. It is very much about being able to look at it in the face and say, okay, and accept it and be able to process it and give it that space to feel those feelings and then be able to keep moving forward despite what those losses or failures or disappointments or grief were about. And this is really important here. Allow it to become a temporary travel companion on your journey. Temporary. I think I said this in the episode, but this is so important. Do not get stuck in the grieving. Do not get stuck in the mourning, because that in itself is toxic and dangerous. And we see it so often as well. And I know either maybe you recognize it in yourself or you see it in people you know, other women, family members, where they are so stuck in their grief. Again, this is not allowing the feelings to flow. Feelings are energy. Everything is energy, and energy needs, natural state of energy is to move. It does not stay still. It is like water. It has to flow like water. So allow it to be your companion, but a temporary companion as the feelings flow, as they arise, as you release them, as you let go, and move through the different stages of grief, right? That's what grief is. It's not one emotion. It's so many different emotions, all jumbled up, and can also feel quite chaotic and unreasonable even. But they're all valid. And so allow them to come and release them. Allow them to come up and release them. But make sure you're releasing them. because otherwise you'll get stuck in it and then it will no longer be a temporary companion. So that's really important. That really stood out for me, that I wanted to emphasize there. And yes, the emotions and the feelings that come to the surface will be challenging. But it's okay. It will help you to better navigate them when they come up again in the future, because inevitable, those feelings will come up at some point again in the future in different ways. But as it says, like everything, it will soon pass and you will be more enriched by the experience. So have the courage, trust in yourself to have the courage and the ability to do that. I believe in you. I believe in each and every one of you to be able to sit with it. Ask for support if you need to be held and supported, if it is big grief. Don't put a time limit on it, if it's days or weeks or months, maybe even years. And know that there is no right or wrong, and you are moving forward with processing this grief as long as you are allowing yourself to feel your feelings. You know, you may think also that you have dealt with something and then a few months later something comes up and suddenly you find yourself choked up and really emotional again. It's okay. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's just that it was so deep. The hurt was so deep, or the pain was so deep. The sadness was so deep. The regret, the loss was so deep. There's just multiple layers of it. That's all. So just trust the process. At some point you'll get to, and I share an example in my episode of my own journey, you will get to a point where it just won't trigger you in quite the same way. Those tears won't come up for you. The gulp, the having something in your throat or your chest tightening up, and all of that contraction will just dissipate. And the thought of that person or that experience or the event just won't have quite the same impact on you. But only when you allow yourself to process it. Okay? I think that's all I'm going to say on that. If you're tuned into YouTube and you want to have another little look at the picture, I'll show you again. There you are. There you have it. First oracle reading of this new series, and the first of 2026. And also, we have just enjoyed and welcomed in spring equinox. So I feel like it is a really beautiful time for this new beginning of this series and this new energy and a new perspective and a new shift and a new habits. And we have also just seen the new moon come in as well. But yeah, a new chapter. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it served you. Please do let me know and tune in again next week. Bye-bye.